you know, a lot of effort which goes behind organizing all this. And particularly there are 2 or 3 women I'm scared of. Just wait behind Samira. The other one, I don't know what happened to it. Tanvi was supposed to be here, no? So it's not on? And yes. Hello. Hello, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Standard was all right, great. The second one was Tanvi, was very kind enough to articulate my straight thoughts and to on that. I don't know how many of you have referred to that time. Nobody?
He's calling for documents that we...
Where is Tanvi? Nobody knows what she read. And anyway, I think we have this, Junoon has this website, no? Samina?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And on
We
that.
have WordPress one that we'll share the link with you. I think I don't need it.
No, I'm very glad that you can read it. So now that, otherwise, there is always you're repeating what you've written. So I must speak something new on that. Anyway, this whole idea of changing professions is actually because if I give a title like Lessons Learned in My Life in Film, Theatre and Psychiatry, it becomes very academic. And it may be good to go to universities. So depending on where you put an application, you have to decide the title. So this is it must be something spicy, something attractive. And so I said, okay. In short, what I told you, this lesson learned, is exactly what I thought. It's changing professions from medicine to scholar. And then I think, when did we really be fascinated by smuggler goods? Now probably nobody knows about it because everything is available on the market and everything. But earlier times when I was a kid, smuggled goods had a kind of an aura. And then it was imported. And why did anyone go for smuggled goods? Because the things in the open market were not as good in quality as the smuggled goods were. Right? Now, I think that's the reason I have chosen this profession now. Because I'm not very sure about the open market education. These days you can buy education, I'm told. And so I thought of smuggling that. And to see whether the old income still is valid. So how did it all start actually? It all starts, most of the things start with problems. No? So I had a great problem going to school. Means I had to go to school because everybody has to go to school. Right? But in our times, having learning disabilities was not as respected as it is today. So now till Tarizani came. So you can't be very open about it because it had no status. I didn't even know the name then. Now retrospectively I think it must be learning disability. But what was that disability is, if I read a book, I found it so difficult to understand. So I had to read the book again and again. Or I may start reading, by the time I reach the 10th line or second para, I had to go back to the first line to find out the content. And so I could never finish a book. It took so long. But then I realized sometimes if the same thing was told to me, it was much quicker. It was much better for me to understand. So it must be very specific customized this activity. But this is what I found. And this became actually very prominent by the time I went to medical college. You know, medical college books are very big. Grey's Anatomy, medicine, small type, completely uninteresting language. And so I didn't know how to do this, almost so difficult. Then I had to find out, most of my time was spent in trying to find the smallest possible book. Then I realized the best way is actually make friends with those who read a lot. So I found out those who can read a lot and who were obviously gifted. And I made good friends with them, as good as that I had a first name on their notes and also on their books. The reason being, their books were highlighted. I saw them when they sat in the library, they would sit with the ruler. So precisely what I couldn't do, they could. So I noticed that, and then when I started, then I found another trick. Another trick is sitting in the library. But they could read at least for 45 minutes, 1 hour. I could hardly read for 20-25 minutes. But then, the remaining time, I was trying to locate who is the one scholar guy who is bored with reading. And you can know from the gestures, from the body posture and everything, I need to say that you say go on, something, then you realize, he is my father. So what do you, there is one talking. I used to come, very good. So we used to walk. Then I used to find out what he was reading. And then generally by then I had learned the art of controlled provocation. And what it meant was, if he would tell me something, I would make a statement which is in complete opposition. I said, no, that's not true. This is not what I read. And he said, of course it is. I said, who says so? Then he would vomit out whatever he was reading. That will serve my purpose. This I did very skillfully. Right? So actually it was started from that when I went to medical college. Now people ask me, welcome Tanvi. This is a wonderful girl. I wish she had come earlier, then I could have talked to her and she could have talked to you. She is my medium. She articulates my thoughts very well. Because otherwise, every time when I spoke to her, she said, wait. You are talking too much about too many things. So I have this crowding of thoughts. And she helps me to cleanse, clean up. So now also you have to do that job. Anyway, so the people ask me that, especially when I am to medical college in Eastern, that why don't you decide whether you want to be an actor or a doctor? I never found a good answer to that. But I can tell you something. All of us actually start our learning with acting. I do not know yet of anybody who at the age of 2 or 3 has not acted. But that time you are a real artist. Because you choose your audience. And they are generally parents or grandparents. And then you want to show them, if it's grandparents, you want to show them how the parents are. If they are parents, you want to show them how the grandparents are. So you imitate mommy to tell grandfather. This is how all this stuff. Actually, in fact, these days I have seen, if you are fortunate to have 2 kids, generally it's rare nowadays. But if you have, the elder one generally makes the younger one a student. And the elder one becomes a teacher. And they exactly repeat what is happening in the school. So all of us start basically with acting. Now what happens, unfortunately, when you do a lot of things in school, at least in my time, there were two favorite nomenclatures: curricular subjects and extracurricular activities. Now see, curricular subjects, activities are always extracurricular. What helps you in life are extracurricular. What helps you in biodata are curricular. This is very important. All extracurricular activities are related to one or the other sensory systems. Then I realized that when we start actually, when we are born, nowadays the whole education is biased towards cognitive thinking. But when we are born, and let me tell you the reason for that. The reason for that is the digital media came 400 years after print media. So print media came 400 years before. So from oral tradition, we went straight to written tradition. And gradually the concept of literacy, there was a paradigm shift. To read and write became so seminal to be literate, and it percolated so deep in education that from the first year of school till last year of college, it is mandatory to read and write 3 languages of world, which was formerly spoken, now it is written. Orators were replaced by writers, and that became the hallmark. Do you agree with this? First of all, if you have to oppose now only. But it became, we learned it in Maharashtra at least 3 languages. Marathi as mother tongue, Hindi as national language, and English is the operational language. So you can use it, thanks to Britishers, that we are one country.
Yes.
No, we were never one country before they left. Anyway, and then we can communicate with this language and specific communication came with the language. So, now listen, these are acquired skills. Reading and writing is an acquired skill. Speaking is also acquired, but not in the sense of reading and writing. Because speaking you can pick up by imitation, like acting, right? You say, they are taught, right? When you are young, mama, papa, papa, and the first time you say mama, mama is so happy, you don't know why she's there. Because she thinks that you are calling her. For you, it means nothing. So just sound. So, right? But then eventually he realizes, then when he makes that sound, this particular lady looks at it. Cognition is not developed, it takes a very long time. Anyway, so it starts like that. And before you utter your first word or even learn to read your first word, how do you know about the word or anything? It's purely through all other sensory organs, right? Including smell. You know how your mother knows how the body of the child smells. But particularly you go to play schools or anything, when the children come out, how does a child goes to his mother or father who they live? By thinking, oh, this lady looks like my mother. Stone like this, or white hair there. You know, thinking is not developed like that, right? It's image. It's the image, and the mother recognizes the child by the sound frequency. Each mother knows the cry of her child. This is an FM allotted to her only. So even if 10 children are crying, she knows exactly where to go and pick up. This is, we don't realize this, but this is how it happens. The image and sound play a significant part, as well as the smell and taste. If you go to the developmental phases, the first thing which parents look for is when is the child able to focus his or her eyes. Because till then they are doing like that, and one day when you say something, and then looks like that, then you are happy. Same with the sound. You do that. From here and there, everything you see koshish, right? So with the sound. So these play very important role. If you have seen a film like Gandhi, it's emotional, and the place of smell in life, and particularly in relationships and everything. So, actually at birth, you have like this good mixer, 6-channel learning apparatus. By the time you go to school, gradually 5 channels are closed. Because everything is focused on reading and writing. And this is called the cognitive. You must tell, as a doctor, I must tell you, words, whether spoken or written word, for processing goes to only one part of brain. And that is called cognitive brain. And from cognitive brain, the secondary signals go to visual brain, I mean, you are aware of general structure of brain, big brain and small brain, cerebrum, neocortex, all these funny names. So, spoken or written word, there's no processing there. Image and sound, different, doesn't go there. Because there is visual cortex. There is a huge area of brain which processes images. So when I see him, it's actually not him. This is an illusion. It's actually what comes from here goes back from my retina on my visual cortex. The image of that I perceive as him. That's it. Same thing happens with sound. Same thing happens with smell. Okay. So now we have different centers. Now what is the example? Good example of this to see. If you like after growing up, let me finish this first. So the cognition part comes much later in life. By the time you learn not only how to read and write, but develop such a skill as to know differentiate from concrete from abstract. Right? By that time, so cognitive ability is actually like a secondary sex character, which doesn't come at birth. Developmentally, man is the only animal who takes so long to develop and dependent on somebody else. No other animal is like that. Man is such an animal that sometimes for lifetime he is dependent on somebody when it comes emotionally. Now this is very common of Indian men. Okay. So this is very common. So when we are born, we are only born. We are developing till 18, 19, and secondary sex characters come around. Now they become early. So around 11, 12 teens as you go. That's the time when actually, if you have cognitive abilities, then you know the difference between understanding by reading and imaging and imagining. From that time onwards, reading becomes very significant. That's the time onwards when you start doing that. This has serious implication today especially. I'll tell you why. Because the earlier sequence was by the time we had a lot of information about life. We had a lot of experience of life. because the source of information was very limited. Parents, immediate family, then at the age of 6 you went to school. What did you do till you were 6 years old? With a lot of kids. You used to play. And the games which one could play below 6 years, this is called the first phase of psychosexual development. Is all those games what you do now by paying a lot of money when you are adult and join the sensory awareness workshop. Blindfold. Sit there, somebody drops a chalk and say, okay, what was that sound of? Please draw a picture. All the games, traditional games if you find, they are all related to development of one or the other sense and organs. So what I was telling you, the 6th channel, which get closed because of this overemphasis on reading, writing and cognition. And it is so much so that if you have liked a book immensely and you go and see the film, most people don't like it. What must be the reason? The reason is because those of you who are imaginative, not everybody, while reading the book, you create your own images and you create your own sounds. And when you go to see the film, if your images and sound doesn't match those who are on the screen, you don't like it. But that is only those who are imaginative. And very few of us are imaginative. Because our conventional education has certain limitations. This is called organized education. This is not customized education. So it's based on law of average. That average means that normal curve, the central part, 60%. Those who are not highly motivated, they are partially motivated and averagely motivated. The organized education is meant for them to actually minimize the gap between the best and the better and the better and the good. But those small percentage at the other ends, you will always find a problem. In school, those who are very bright always find school as a problem. And not only that, even schools find these boys or girls as problems. Because it's very difficult to manage them. It's constantly there are complaints. Complaints on the other end also. So only the 50% in the class go with the speed and the pace of what is taught. Few of them, small percentage, take much longer to understand. So they don't understand what is taught. The other understand in first 10 minutes, so they don't know what to do for next 40 minutes. If you have read a book called Dips in Search of Self, if you have not, you should read it. Because it's about a child which was brought, suspected of intellectually challenged, turned out to be super normal. And this is through play therapy. Anyway, so this is how I started. So like you and all of you probably we started with a lot of activities in school based on our sensory things. Now what happens here is, as you start growing up, by the time you reach your 10th or 12th, or nowadays CBS and all those exams, but the important exam means what? When you are supposed only to study and do nothing else. And precisely those things for which you were appreciated when you were 6 or 7 years old. And if the relatives came, you were asked and pleaded, "Become uncle. So smart, no, so fast, Uncle Diksha, sing once and then dance like that." Right? And you start appreciating that you are appreciated. Let me tell you another truth of life. You are most intelligent when we are children. Because we are open. And that is why the grasp is very quick. Later on it becomes very different. Anyway, so that happens, but if you continue to do the same thing, by the time you reach your 10th or 12th standard, you get reprimanded. So you are confused. You don't understand. I used to do this and they appreciate it, now I am doing the same, they don't like it. So what happens is gradually, as you go up the academic ladder, your extracurricular wings are gradually cut. Cut, so you are left with no wings to fly. Right? And one channel, and you have to go through that. That's one of the major problems of organized education. Anyway, in my case, I did that, I did a lot of things. I did swimming, I did elocution, I did drama in school. Because by then I had also learned the art of negotiating. Unconsciously. But I realized what parents expect of you when you should do your studies, maintain your class. There we can make a mistake. In order to impress our parents, if you do unnecessary labor and try to show that you are more intelligent than what you are doomed. You're digging your own grave. If you get, normally you should get 55 or 60%, right? But you want to impress. In 5th standard, you get 70%. Oh my God. Parents are very happy. 6th standard, your benchmark is 70%. If you get 55, they are not happy. But if you do your natural self, get 55%, they accept you. Then you do other things, right? Fine. Next time, next year, you do those things, you still get 55%. If you get 70%, you do some extracurricular activities, then you come to 55%, that's not that good. Extracurricular cut. Negotiation is what is first of all underplay your intelligence. So that you are allowed to do what you like. Most of the things we like to do, parents don't want us to do. That's the best test of realizing your natural liking is what you feel compelled to do. And if you find there is resistance, you do it secretly. Like falling in love. At a right age. Anyway, so that's the surest way to know. And actually the purpose of education should be to find out what are your natural skills. Your interests and your abilities may differ. And interest upon ability is more than one, it breeds frustration. So that the whole idea is to find out what are your natural skills, which you do, parents may not do. And that is why you have to learn the art of negotiation. So, in order to get 55%, which your daddy and mommy want, you need to participate in elocution. They want to keep you happy if you keep them happy. These are market skills which you better learn in school and start with your parents. So in my case, I could do that. I got my best academic performance in the last year of school. Because then there is no school. And you go to college. And that's how I reached medical college. Anyway, so that was the time when actually everything will be cut. But as the luck would have it, I have very good friends, Japa Patel, Satish Arekar, and everything. So my interest in theatre, which earlier was a hobby, became a serious hobby. Serious hobby in the sense, I used to do hospital in the daytime, till 5, in the evening I was in the auditorium, doing theatre with them. Right? That's how we started. And then it started like those parallel track. There was one part, it was curricular and extracurricular activity. That's how it all started. And the first time I really took conscious decision that what I will do in terms of academic studies, psychiatry, is after my MBBS. And I'll tell you why, because when I went to medical college, there wasn't a choice. A group or B. You get good marks, A group, engineering. B group, medical. No questions are, you don't even know what you like. In middle class family, you are so overprotected. Right? You don't know anything about the world. Why you are going to medical college? Because everybody else is going to medical college. Well, luckily or unluckily, I got good marks, so I have no choice. So I have to go to medical college. One disadvantage of higher education is, it stops your thinking ability. After 12th grade, you go to medical college, engineering college, higher education, you don't have to think because exams. You have to study, pass the exam, get higher degree, still get higher degree. At the age of 30, when you finish with all your degrees, you come out and then you start thinking, my God, what am I going to do? But if you don't get good marks in 12, your brain starts working right there. Because it's a survival instinct. You have to study. So don't think if your child has done well in 12, probably he is likely to do better in life. And he may have limited choices if he is too scholar. So anyway, I wasn't too scholar also. So these two tracks continue in life. And I did not know, I did finish my 5.5 years. And because I went to medical, without my own thinking, my conscious decision was I decided to do psychiatry. And if I didn't get psychiatry, then to do general practice. But not to do any other specialty. Now why it came like that is called the hindsight. I didn't do it in foresight, but with the hindsight. Because I felt very comfortable with it and I liked it. So I started in psychiatry, I was doing theatre by that time. And precisely at that period during post-graduation came this play, which was to become famous. That's another thing which I learned. You should not get success too early in your career. It ruins you. Best thing to get in your career, if you want to do better in life, is failure. Earlier you experience failure, you learn frustration tolerance, right? And not to be affected by the performance, but to enjoy the process. Now these are all theatre people, they do performance-oriented theatre and process-oriented theatre. Now what you heard before I spoke was process-oriented theatre, art, and what is the place of art in life. This is very important because a Marathi famous veteran P.L. Deshpande pointed out to us, in Marathi, the word for what to do for surviving, for your bread and butter, is called upajivika. Upa means secondary, something to survive what you do. And the reason for what you survive is called jivika. So they say, we all survive somehow or the other. But if you want to make it meaningful and beautiful, save the art. Make friends with one or the other art, because that's what gives you quality of life. First one gives you only survival. Like medicine, will just give you only survival. No quality of life. Extension of life. by extending your breathing with the use of ventilators and extending your circulation by scaling you at the age of 40 that you need angioplasty or bypass. The medical science has focused on your functions. These are called vital functions. And then you keep on living without thinking of what for you live. Probably 80% of your earning in good young age is spent on doctors in the later years. Besides the point. So, these two tracks were going. I thought they were not related to each other till I came across some experience. And what were those experiences? Very funny experience. I was doing psychiatry. So doing psychiatry, sometimes that time, you used to get patients who are highly excited or highly depressed or catatonic. Catatonic means like you see Himalaya, yogi, standing like this. The patient would be brought like this. It wouldn't change for a day. The relatively body would develop contractures and everything. Nowadays you don't see this case. Or acute maniacal excitement. When I used to get these patients in the ward, this was a very dramatic situation. In the ward, you have other patients and relatives, and suddenly somebody comes with this kind of, what do you want? You want to eat something? Come, let's go. Infectious smile, infectious activity, or depressive stupor. All these dramatic things would have an impact on the other patients and their relatives. So either it becomes probably easier to manage few other patients for next 3-4 days because of the dramatic experience they had, or maybe one or two patients are more difficult to manage because of this infectious nature of it. But something more familiar was in the theatre group. If we did not have performance, then the antisocial tendencies in some of the artists became manifest, which were till then latent. What are these antisocial? Nothing. They hold of a simple rag. Or indulge in alcohol. Two of my friends used to steal motorbikes. Only for the ride. No intention of stealing. Adventure. And how they can, any motorbike without key, do that, make around, keep it there. These are all antisocial things. The moment performance is resumed, they will find it. They will go. So this was an accidental finding that theatre would be therapy. It could be therapy for some people. And for therapy you can use theatre. So that is my first interest became in the applied importance of theatre. Then I came to films because of theatre only. And then I met Sumitra Bhave in my latest film, which I did also. I think this is the best vehicle to smuggle education. The reason being, our conventional concept, because of this lag of 400 years in print technology and digital media, the association and conditioning of mind. When you think of the word education, the word association is with book, is with print media. When there is a word like cinema, The word association is with entertainment. Okay. So when you go to see cinema, consciously you look for entertainment. If you don't find it, it's best. In fact, a lot of people come and tell me when I go to cinema, don't ever go. That means you suspend your thinking ability. By choice, why going to see cinema? And when you go to the library, you suspend your other abilities. What it means to, if you don't believe me, I will ask you a question. A textbook of 1000 pages and a novel of 1000 pages. Novel you finish in a day. Textbook you don't finish in 1 year. In fact, you enjoy putting things to option. Now what was the reason for that? Same English, syntax is same, grammar is same, everything is same. And that is, thanks to theatre and films, I learned the word subtext. Textbook is without subtext. So it's all cognitive. All cognitive information brings neuronal fatigue. It's a biological phenomenon.
Yes.
Right? And that is why after 40 minutes you are tired. Because it needs time to rejuvenate at that time. What happens to a novel is subtext so rich, so rich. That is how our conventional education and conventional entertainment is, which I realized when I started doing theatre for children. Our conventional education is pain without no entertainment. And conventional children theatre is only entertainment with no education. So, education is pain and make pity kind of, because it doesn't have something. But if you tell the story, it is the same thing. Example for that. You have had number of teachers from school to college. Do you remember all the teachers? You don't. You do. All the teachers do. Tell me their names. From Montessori till you unless you left school in 4th standard. I'm sure we don't remember names of our teachers. But some teachers we just can't forget. Now the thing is, we don't remember what they taught. What we remember, they made it so interesting. After all, learning has to be done by you. His job is to create an interest. So my conventional theory of learning is an offspring of interest and intelligence. You need both things. Of which interest is more primarily is represents over. Intellectual programming experts. By themselves they can't do anything at all. You may be tremendously intelligent, but if you have no interest, no learning takes place. But if you have tremendous interest, even if you are intellectually challenged, you still learn something. And that's the reason I did it. So the primary job of teacher is to not only generate interest, but raise that level of interest. So, bring that ovum into ovulation phase when it triggers off thinking. And when it triggers off, you feel like knowing, then you automatically think. And once that child of learning is born, you don't have to do anything because it grows on its own. We all take the credit, but But that is not true. The child grows on his own. Samskar but otherwise, so once that interest is done, and interest is in the area, in the domain of emotion and not intelligence. Labor is in the area of cognition. So the medium of intellectual communication is word, a book. But the medium of emotional communication has always been, and even today, image and sound. And that is why it is called subtext. Even in daily life and professional life, this plays far more important role than the text. And that is why, if you can use that, my latest film was too, or earlier films made by Sumitra Bhave, I thought story-based, authentic portrayal generate the interest in the subject. And if that interest is there, and it's very common, like I meet her today. My first interaction is very interesting. Then I feel like meeting her again. If it is not interesting, but if you like it, when you go to theatre also, if there is no name written, if you like somebody's performance, you want to know what is the name of that person. So, if any art form has triggered your interest into a subject, and next day you come across an authentic article, maybe psychology of it, economics of it, politics of it, you are immediately attracted to read it. Otherwise you won't get it. It's exactly like you meet me today, you find me interesting, tomorrow you come across an ad of a film in which I am acting. Then you will like to go and see it. If you don't know me at all, whether I am interested or not interested person at all, you can across the ad. So this has connections. And the last thing, and I will make it open. See, the mind is probably not well understood. To me, mind is the function of body. And the relationship between body and mind is one that of instrument and music. Music, you cannot find music by cutting the instrument, by tuning the instrument. So you cannot find mind by cutting the body, even brain. Brain, knowing that, is good for tuning. And second thing, it will perish in any case. The body will perish and the instrument will perish, but music won't perish. And the art is very important for that, because all things which we look for in life are all abstract. We look for happiness, we look for satisfaction, we look for love, we look for being wanted, needed. It's all abstract. The tools for it, you think, are concrete. And there, if you make confused and focus too much on concrete, it's like focusing too much on a body and not mind. It's like focusing too much on a container than the content. So all these fitness centers should be complemented with psychology. Because otherwise they will only after body. If you go and stand in front of a fitness center, more than 50% those who walk out see their basic expression on face and the body. ये तो कंटेनर है, लड्डू का डिब्बा है, स्टेनलेस स्टील का करो, सिल्वर का करो, कुछ करो, अगर अंदर लड्डू नहीं तो क्या करें? All this, your richness depends on your ability to experience shades of emotions and variety of thoughts associated with it. And that can never be provided only with book, only with text. It has to be coupled with subtext. So unless there is an emotional harmony and intellectual harmony, emotion and intellectual harmony, that is not there. Today, because of the education, we have become a society with solo cognition and strong consensus. And ego belongs to cognitive domain. So it's very difficult also to tell you that you are done. Because you feel insulted and humiliated. That's essentially the difference between a tribal and very educated person. I don't know how many of you have seen our school, but if you haven't, you better do. This is not marketing. But this is to juxtapose the difference between two families to know what our current education has taught us to think. Think and analyze. Not to see, understand and accept. Seeing, समझना, सोच लेना, मानने और स्वीकारना is as important as analyzing. And that is why I think, depending upon whatever your activities are, each one of you can come into smuggling. Decide what to smuggle. And that depends on the abilities you have. So that's where I'll stop now to open it for your questions. I'm sure there are no questions. All right.
Doctor, at some point in time, you was like giving up your psychiatry.
Who, me?
Yeah.
After retiring. Formal. No. Besides being formally trained in psychiatry, all of us, in our own way, try to be psychologists.
I just say, but
Right
as
now.
a profession.
Now, profession, what's the difference exactly? I'll tell you what. This I forgot. The formal training in psychiatry gave a lot of information. But to process it and convert it, I will do literature difference. That gave meaning to those words which I mean there. And then you use your professional training, the purpose of it is to bring about a change in behavior, your behavior, others' behavior, for better living. And the purpose of other thing is, in order to bring about a change, first understand what it is. After literature, films is nothing but are extensions of reality. It's one man's extension of reality, shared by other people as an art form.
I have one question. So, I have done MA psychology like 20 years back, and many of my friends used to call me and ask me today also that, what I should do, I am not getting satisfaction in my professional life, personal life. So when I asked to find out, the issue I am seeing is people want emotional and intellectual harmony in their life, but they want a shortcut. They don't understand what will make them happy, at all. So can you just give me some tips, like with your experience, so that I can help them?
Actually, I said that during the process of developing, if you try to understand what are your abilities and what your interests are. Generally what happens is, even if you do what you like, when you have to do it every day, you don't like it. And that is why, if you ask any professional, when he is already into profession for 20 years, 25 years, that what he wanted to be, he always tells you he didn't want to be what he is today. That's right. Because many times, by the time you find your abilities and its relationship with interest, you have already developed skills which help you to survive. And those skills which help you to survive, you find are not necessarily are those of interest to you. And that is why you do it. So now the new philosophy of life, young dream, is to have everything by the age of 35. Make the hay when sun shines. Has a flip side to it. Is because you can't live the life after 35 what you could at the age of 20. There is anabolic and catabolic phase. I'm not going into details of that. If you understand that, you earn money and you spend money. As if you are a student, you pay fees. Then you get educated and start working as a teacher in the same school. You are paid. So you recover your fees. That's the thing. You earn a lot of money. Because you want happiness or whatever it is. What do you do with it? You spend it. And what's the difference? Probably you may not have a choice of what to do to earn your money. But you have all the choice when you spend your money. When you go to see theatre, it's not an investment which you make, like you buy 100 rupee ticket, you go home, you are getting a money order of 150. That's what you do in business, no doubt. But if you have really enjoyed that play, what you want to do is earn by whatever way you are earning, but spend again 100 rupees and go for another. So that the experiential quality of it. To know that, identify, you have to know your interest. You spend your time directly on the interest. Then, earning money you have to spend time. Spending money you have to spend time. Why spend time twice? Why don't you spend some time in the earning maybe and the other time on making it worth? So when the word investment gets, now it is only associated with money. You see, some people have it, some people don't have it. But when it gets associated with time, whether the person in slum or in villas, all of us have the same lifespan. Your concept of lifespan is equal to all, right? With minor differences. That means each one of us has 62 years to invest. And your investment of first 20-25 years decide your short-term and long-term needs. If I have to talk in the business management language, then you have to know profit before interest, and profit after interest, profit before tax, profit after tax. Because all said and done, you may be 100 years. Catabolic phase, physiologically, starts after 35. Why young dream is have everything by 35? Because after 35 you don't have the same abilities. Whatever. You may look, you can keep anything in the showroom, nothing will go down. That is very important. So, first of all, you must understand what is happiness. Happiness is not necessarily to be joyful all the time. Feeling pain can be a source of happiness. If you don't believe me, now when you remember when you studied at that language and you thirst, 20 years down the line, it becomes a source of happiness for you. If you have quarreled with somebody, great fights, right? The memory of it could be a source of happiness for you. So how the quality changes of experience in what you have done. Time is a very important dimension. Yes, sir.
So, can you explain the difference between mind and brain? Because sometimes,
Sure.
I get confused between mind and brain. Like, mind controls the brain, or the brain controls the mind. And
Between-
which one is more superior?
Between God and you,
Right.
I can see you. I can't see God. You can't see mind. You can see brain. Mind is nirgun nirakar. Body is everything complete physical. And that is why mind is a function of body. If mind was an organ, you think like mind is an organ, so you are cutting brain and everything. Mind is everywhere, not only in the brain. In fact, if at all you have to weigh percentage, autonomic nervous system is the seat for emotions. Whereas cerebrum and central nervous system is the seat of thinking and cognition. So that's the difference. Brain, as I said, is like when you have to gauge an instrument. कौन सी लकड़ी लेनी चाहिए, कौन सी तार लेनी चाहिए, कहाँ कितनी खींचनी चाहिए, to make it, to keep it in the tune. That's the function of brain. So all this, what we find out in research is also good, but if we don't remember, then the more we find out, the more remains to be found. And this is a fact. And if that humility is not there, so this is very important to find new things and to use it to our advantage. But unfortunately, human beings are gifted with abusing things more than using it. So one has to be careful. Yes, sir.
Since we are talking about your experiences, I was really curious to know what kind of preparation or what was your experience while doing Jaitrejay?
Oh, Jaitrejay was more a test in the physical fitness than acting and film. Because it was one of the very low budget films. So उसके पहले मैंने निशांत नाम की फिल्म की थी, where I had a quarter band. Jaitrejay that didn't even have anything but loincloth. तो मेरे दोस्त पूछे इतना low budget है क्या? Shot me conveyed that Abhayaranya, right? We had to climb 7 hills to reach Limboga. We were about 26 people staying in a guest house for 4 people. Then tribal shooting in the tribal Basti, which was about 11 kilometers from Khalapur. Khalapur we were staying in a school classroom by removing benches and putting mattresses there. There was only one jeep. So after the shooting of the song, which would get over 6 in the morning, many of us walked from the location to Khalapur, which was 11 kilometers. So fitness-wise, I was very good. And then everything is new. Then you are ready to do everything. So even Vinod Pradhan, who is today one of the best cinematographers, it's his first film. And he shot it on Orvo. And the kind of results he gave on Orvo was of great interest. So to me, a lot of memories are associated, very painful. First day we had to go to the fields for morning rituals. And so it was fun, because that is the age. If You ask me to do it now, I will. Yes.
See, your Bachchan was one of the finest performances I have ever seen. And to a level where I think when I read Nana Fadnavis's autobiography itself, I think that, I could not push your face aside while I was reading it. Your voice was continuously reading while, I was reading that book. So it is, you almost personified that character. After so many years, you have to do the same preparation again. How differently would you do it?
You want an honest answer?
Yes.
It's very difficult to do it now. At the age of 25, when you are given license to see a beautiful girl
Yes.
without winking eyes in front of everybody, which you want to do, but you can't do because of social code of conduct. But if you don't do it, you are punished. What more do you want? You can exactly be uninhibited and look at her the same way you want to look at her. Now it's a problem. Now it's a problem. I'm scared that if I start looking at that girl, which is called Kohli Tatni, automatically more affection, vatsalya would come. So I think I will do more.
Doctor, the only thing is that you said is so well put. The only thing Nana Fadnavis happened and in his own book is confessed. Till that age, till very later age also, he was busy with those plans in his life.
Now, frankly speaking, let's not mix the history with the play, which Tendulkar has already written that this is not a historical play. Kashyarams are creations of certain socio-political situations which transcend time and space. So I have no intentions of commenting on Peshwai, Nana or Kashyram. If there is any moral, look for it elsewhere. Years later, he wrote an article in Maharashtra Times called The Birth Story of Kashyram. At that time he wrote, what was teaching him was the relationship between Congress and Shiv Sena. Shiv Sena was given birth by Congress. That is his article. It's coming to what you say, I have done that because Manikal did a film of the same title, but it was not half as enchanting as the play. Play ran for 20 years and still runs. Film flopped in 3 days. Because that was socio-politico-economic analysis of that period of history. So cognitive was the film. But beautiful, soundtrack. And it was cooperative film, means 4 directors, 4 cinematographers, 4 editors, 4 sound people. That's the first time I learned film cannot be a cooperative act. And we lost one of the financiers. Money was so bright. He convinced 16 fresh graduates of Film Institute that look, Dena Bank has a scheme for educated unemployed. 15,000 rupees. Let's all apply. And we form a cooperative called Youth Cooperative. All of them applied, Dena Bank gave loan. We were all young, and not young of this era, that era. So we didn't mind doing anything free. Now nobody does anything free. So we did it free and everything. I thought I was very intelligent. So I said, okay, if you are not paying us, give me 1% of the profit. He readily agreed. So anyway, so we did it, but in that film, when he asked me that I have to play Nana, but it's not one. One Nana as a historical character, one Nana from the play, because it had a lot of excerpts from the play. Beautiful screenplay written by Tendulkar. And Nana as a myth. So Nana as a history, it The film begins with the autobiography of Nana, in which he openly says his weakness and what all he did to get over that. And still he was not successful. So even in his later, that's the part of history which is in the letters and everything, which has nothing to do with the play. And they said, if in any play a character comes dancing, it can't be historical play. It's a folk play. Obviously. But politicians always find something good. And there is no agenda. That is the story.
I just want to share two things and just want to ask. So one thing is, when I entered into my engineering about 30 years back, the first thing which my dean, professor or somebody who told me is the same thing which you do. 4 years of your hard work will decide your 40 years of your life. And I pose the same to my younger cousins and my younger brothers. I to all other people, I'm from a small town, city from town. I'm sorry for that. Today I learned what I have done wrong. So that was not the correct thing. Because 20 years down the line, I'm still not feeling what I have done. Second thing is, when you say
that 4 years of hard work does not necessarily mean engineering. 4 years of hard work is what you really like, you have to spend some time for that. And that you have to do every day. A part of your everyday, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, must be spent in something which brings you in a prasanna state of mind. So you are ready to cope with other 23 hours.
Second is, I work with a few kids in some NGO who are mentally tired kids. And I feel that you say that actually your majority part is your interest part to learn anything, and your flexibility part is maybe 1% or 2% of that. Because now I connect, because that time I didn't connect, but I've seen some kids who difficult to even teach you proper ways of speaking or behaving in social life, but they play music like so easy, or they do some other art or craft work with their interest point. So that's very true that the intellectuality part is really very small than the interest, but that overrides everything. And third thing is, while we have discussed last 1 hour, play your interest to find it. How to find the interest? It's too difficult.
I know that. In childhood, when there are inner compulsions, without which you have to do it, otherwise you don't feel well. And even if you know that, your parents don't like to do anything, you still do it. Identify, that's what you are. And find a socially acceptable way of doing it.
Is there any research available in Indian context about role of emotion in learning?
Role of emotions in learning? Oh, yes.
I can meet you little later and take those.
So there are some articles. In fact, in 84-85, for 2 years, I had taken a study the relationship between art and therapy. And even today my interest is applied importance of art. By the way, good you ask me a question. See, when I started studying medicine, the term was art of medicine. By the time I finished, it was science of medicine. So now I have to ask you, what is art and what is science? Yes, ma'am. What is art and what is science?
Brain and mind, maybe. Brain and mind.
Brain and mind. Okay, that's one way, okay?
Art could be mind.
Okay?
Science makes it cognitive, I would say. And art will take more.
I think it's the same point from two different sides.
Science
This is an explanation of the
One
external.
is art. And to me, for my operational definition is fund of knowledge is science. The way you practice it is an art. So everything can be an art. Actually, you see the structure given for all these sensory systems. The same structure helps you to survive, and the same structure makes you enjoy or appreciate, make it beautiful. Tongue, taste, खाने के लिए जो delivery आती, like Mark Twain says, the best literature is on the menu card. But when you are not, then you find out different ways of doing it to make it more interesting. That's what art is. It basically has to do with eating, which is good for survival also, but to make it more beautiful, you look so beautiful, so well developed. Same with music. It's not meant to listen to horns of the truck. Music, it does the same thing. In all sensory apparatus you find the same apparatus who gives it quality of life also and which helps you to survive also. So that becomes very practical to know that. And so art is a way of doing. You may be cleaning the floor. I tell you, there's some people, you just watch the way they clean. Such heart into it. So, any kind of performance is an art, including medicine, which we are gradually losing. See, if I have to tell you medicine, the first, I've told this probably some of you may know it. In our second MBBS, after finishing all those anatomy, physiology, you go to hospital. And then you have to wear apron. And you have to have stethoscope around your neck. And you start feeling you are become a doctor. Actually, you go, the patients are given to you. Certain hospital, the patients are from village. They can't make out who is the doctor, who is a student, who will come more. So you go inside. Patient allotted, but they go, take the hand, see the pulse. I did that. Dr. Grant was saying, he shouted, "Don't touch him! Baap ka maal hai." I realized, then he explained that, look, have you first seen him well? What is his posture? What is his gait? What is his face like? How does he respond? Did you call him? Is monosyllabic? He wants to talk? Or he gaze avoidance is there? First, did you get a lot of information just by observing him? That's the visual skill. Then, if you touch him, remember, this is your first touch to an unknown human being. And what it has to communicate is sense of security and nothing else. As a doctor, when you touch somebody, that's what you have to communicate. That's when you understand what touch is all about. So it's like touch when you touch a child, when you touch your grandmother, when you touch your fiancé, when you touch your patient, and relation. The secondary, again, a sensory skill. Third one is what we call percussion. It's not a tabla, it's a tummy. Pop, 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 pop. You do it from that sound and the oscillation. There is also a funny and true story. Second image, you are asked to auscultate the heart, and you are told that in one heartbeat there are 4 sounds. First sound, second sound, which are clear and good. Third and fourth sound will be muffled. You hear first time ever you place that chest piece, and here you can't make out one beat from the other, forget about four sounds. Right? It just goes like boom, 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 boom. And then he asks you, did you hear? It's a very embarrassing question. Especially at that age, if you are also girls in the class. And then you say, yes. I think there is a big problem, sir. My stethoscope is second hand. And my teacher smiled and said, no, my boy, it is the other end that matters. So that's changing people up of acuity of hearing only when you are auscultated every day. So it's exactly like why riyaz is important in performance. Unless you do it again and again, correct it, you do not develop that sensitivity. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm an aspiring scholar.
Good.
You slightly touched upon the topic of digital twin and advent of media and books, printing technology. So I would like to ask if I have this common senses into education, or did print, advent of print and media play a role in smuggling education, smuggling senses into education, and will digital also do that? Will it help in any ways?
But digital, of course, see, one of the, and we started with this digital technology, big technology, the number of years you spend to read and write. And today, because you have this stupid smartphone, they are getting smart and you are getting stupid. Because we are outsourcing functions of brain. And there is a camera, and you think that you can take photographs without learning anything about it. It's like somebody giving you a bat and you presume you are Tendulkar. This is what, so digital technology is very good, provided you know, like you learn how to use language, how to use words. शैली जिसको बोलते हैं ना, style of writing. So style of using that, in fact, this digital helped democratize image and sound. And now you are taught the language of word. Language of image and sound should be taught in school. Not because you want to become a filmmaker, but because ad filmmakers should not exploit you. And that is why, because this language has many more alphabets than language of word. And this whole idea of putting 10 images together, adding sound to it, is like forming a word and a sentence and a paragraph. And if you find the digital, it's exactly like in a print media, you are given a sentence and you are asked to write an essay for 3 hours. This film could be an extension of one moment for 2 hours. Something like Death by Hanging, a film. Or it's a comprehension, you are given 3 pages and then you are asked to write 1 paragraph. So it may be a story of 3 generations, again told in 2 hours. So compression of time and space is basically what you learn with digital. And that is why digital and print should go together now, if you have to bring it. Charlie Chaplin, still today I don't think anyone says. Charlie Chaplin was the only one who, without, there are subtitles now. It's like a cartoon having a comment. Right? But he could cut across a common man to an intellectual by using. So actually one has to study 10 times how he used images and sound. That's the best. When you really want to know about the film, you buy the film, see it, stop it, go back, see the frame by frame and do that.
So one more question. I read somewhere that in 1990s, the prime importance of a person's success was like how much is the IQ. Then came EQ, the emotional quotient. Now I'm reading that people are giving more importance to spiritual quotient like SQ. Do you think that way or is it something that is just there just for the sake of it?
These are three levels of existence, I think. And there are no shortcuts. You can't jump. Omit one and go to the next. Like he said, a lot of insights you develop, not when you are young, when you become old. If you are doing things wholeheartedly, then as you develop, your thinking ability is one which develops much later. First of all, sensory abilities are foremost. So when you do things, you do it with that. Even now, day-to-day life, day-to-day responses are not cognitive. And the reason because conscious mind is like a RAM. Subconscious and unconscious is hard disk. One of the reasons why you develop dementia or can't remember things is depending on your hard disk, it gets full. So no new files. They get deleted. In fact, many times I find dementia is a solution for the person, mainly problem for caregiver. Because it helps him to live in present. Otherwise it doesn't. So with those kind of abilities, the spiritual level, you understand much later when you understand psychology, emotion, and what is that actually? Something like this, if you have been married for too long, that you know each other so well that you don't need to talk to each other. In fact, what is most helpful for your survival is just to know that other person is there in the other world. That is spiritual.
Sir, modern science has shown that there is a second plane which is gut. It's about how we get the gut feeling. Now, when a person has a certain gut feeling, should that person go along with the gut feeling or should it respond to the senses that are feeling?
Well, with your own experience, you know whether your gut feeling is correct or not. So that's the way to decide actually. In fact, there is a new thing called rational, not new, old, rational emotive therapy.
Yes.
Right? Which is correcting your emotion.
Right.
But in that also there has to be Vivekanist vichar. Rational emotive therapy. Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell us a little bit about how you got into doing theatre for children? You haven't spoken much about that.
Oh, please state it.
Yeah.
Because the time is short.
I'm asking you.
No, this theatre I started doing very simply. You asked me the question. I was doing that which has become so successful. So many performances, 20 years. I grew mustache for it. I thought I would take it out in 2 years. I grew it for 20 years. And then other plays which I did, though they were good, people would come and say, nice guy, but your Kashiram, I used to get so upset. Angry that at one point I thought I could just stop doing it. Precisely at that point I came across a theatre group from Berlin. We had gone to Berlin, called Grips. And Grips has revolutionized concept of theatre for children. Their work, initial work, is based on Alice Miller's child psychology, a book called Drama of Being a Child. Like Gibbs in Search of Self, Drama of Being a Child is a book which is fascinating. And they started doing plays, realistic plays for children, like lack of playground, double standard behavior of adults, fear, value of friendship, drugs. But the plays were fun, like this. Great humor and Our conventional theatre with children is theatre done with the children. Not respecting the children as intelligent audience. Because when you, in those plays, a young actor has to play child, it's very tough. Because the child would not accept you unless you act as a child. If you start acting like a child, he rejects you that you are adult retarded. That's a byproduct of this theatre which is so fascinating. And lot of this, then I found out people learned a lot from this, though they hate the word pedagogy. But in the office, there was a huge section which collects authentic information about the subject matter, the questions which are raised in the play, the answers to that, the psychology of it, as I said, is all given in a kind of a follow-up material. But the play, this is great fun. It's only to generate interest. If you are interested, and we did, one of my students, or not my students, students of Nirmala Niketan, doing MS in child development, we did a play called Nampore Baba, which is a rebel against authoritarian father and the place of woman in the society. That's wonderful actually. I'm stating this. This is a play meant for anyone above 6 years of age. And it's about a woman, single woman with 2 children, and she decides to marry somebody, and she is taking gradually, negotiating with children, and children are very happy that the uncle will come as a daddy now. But the Lord, when he actually arrives at daddy, he is so authoritative, they dislike him and they disown him. They run away and say, anyway, in the end, he knew that he has to agree that he has to live as a family member and should behave like everything. He should share, because the mother is also working. He should also share the responsibilities at home. He should allow the girl to play football and the boy to play with dolls. And in the end, when the mother comes back from the office, the father is with the apron with a cup of tea, which is a dream come true for so many. And when the parents, rather mothers, came with their children for the show, the mothers are always worried that our child should not disturb the show. तो पूछे सुसु करनी अब जा पानी जास्त नहीं अब जा and the child that time is not interested because it's neither hungry nor susu. He is interested in watching that, say, what is happening and everything, and then they sit for the play starts. How 80 minutes play, maybe at 65 minutes, some child now not realizing earlier now wants to go for TV. You know what the mommy's reaction is? Last visual, women just would look at each other. That's the answer. And that was, this theatre for children was such a revelation to me. And we're still doing it 30 years now. Now it's the third generation writing plays. 86 writing the first.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.